Greetings, this is Vane and welcome back to Let's Play the Elder Scrolls Arena. Okay, let's go with this for our save file today. We're gonna just carry on exploring. To say what we can say. And to loot what we can loot, basically. What's down there? I don't know. It looks like there's something down there. I don't know if it joins up with this, though. Let's give it a go, because I don't see that there's another one. I'll deal with that when I come back. But there's clearly loot in here. So I think the middle's about there. Oh, but we can carry on up here. Don't even need to deal with that nonsense. Which brings us back to this bit, okay. Now that is interesting because we came down that way. Yeah, I mean, here's where we came through. Ooh, a nice double swing there. Amulet. Nope. Okay. Let's drop the whackers, actually. Take the amulet. Yeah, let's do this bit here first then. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of water. That probably just carries on straight down, but I'm never gonna forgive myself if I don't at least have a look for it. Yeah. Okay. know I can sort of race down here into the corner. So yeah, I mean, games at the time, they took a couple of approaches of various combinations of turn-based and real-time, although the processing power for a real-time game was pretty much coming into its own at this point if you wanted like free movement, as opposed to you could only turn certain ways, and on a grid-based system, let alone with a real world. There was, I mean, you had like the Beholder series, which was a first-person party dungeon explorer, which were quite common, and a lot of it. You had Might and Magic, which you had was, which was basically turn-based, text-driven. A lot of the simple principles were, if they were like kind of first-person, the essential was you created a maze. That was it. You had a maze, everything was walls or whatever, and that would be what you'd explore. But you'd be fairly good at it. But you'd be fairly good at exploring it. When it came down to it. And for example, Bard's Tower and that, and it's still popular today. I mean, even was it Might and Magic 10? It's still a grid-based game. The thing is now that, I mean, that's like, it's a chosen style rather than because of technological limitations. And as with most things, they helped. Well, you had certain genre-defining things. It helped define one series for another. I mean, a lot of the gold standard SSRI games, for example, were grid party-based. But after a while, it became that was the chosen style of gameplay. That was what it was all up, as opposed to that was all they could do. And then you see some, I mean, the Dark Sun games they did, for example, was top down. You had Ultima, which interestingly started off being first-person dungeons and basically for top-down wilderness exploration, basically mixing the two styles. You had Wizardry, I don't know if it was, I'm not sure, I think Wizardry was entirely top down. I don't know, I never played many of them. And a lot of the technical limitations came from the time, came not from PC, but from the fact that they were designed on other home computers. I mean, the Amiga and the Commodore 64 were actually made good inroads in the UK, as did the Spectrum, because it was a homegrown cheap console. So the limitations of those, home computer, the limitations of those games and when they got ported to PC, they kept a lot of those limitations because that was part of the game by then. I mean, new IP and new advances would bring new gameplay. Concepts, and would define new franchises going forward. Right, I found some good emulations. There's some good RPGs on, like this Commodore 64 and stuff like that. So, I mean, I had pretty much. In my lifetime, I've had pretty much every different home computer at some point. Although most of them were well after they were discontinued because they were cheap. So, and they will always be a good era for me. I didn't have an Amiga; it was too expensive. At that point, I'd gone. By the time my Commodore died, and so it was shortly just before this sort of thing, I shifted to consoles, which was the NES and the Super NES. Specifically, the Super NES was the one that I owned, although I'd played the previous. And it wouldn't be until, I think, actually 96 was when I got my first PC. Because Command & Conquer had just come out, and the first game that I bought that was actually new was, on release day, was actually Command & Conquer Red Alert, which I begged my mother for, and she got. There's a downside because we were playing the demos, because you got discs on magazines then, because you'd collect them all because it was the only way to get cheap games. So I did play a lot of demos. But where is you? Great. You know, and an amusing story I'll always remember. My mother bought it for Christmas after it came out. But she bought it for me for Christmas. She hid it away safely, forgot where she put it, and didn't find it until March. So I was disappointed on Christmas Day, but then had like the second Christmas in March when she found it in the cupboard. But yeah, that was pretty much my first proper game that I had on the PC in a box. But I still have all my old box games. And I was a teenager in the early 90s, so I didn't have a lot of cash that I could call my own. And we weren't a rich family. My mother got ill at the age of 47, so Alan was looking after, but stuck on benefits, dealing with me. My dad had left when I was really young, so I mean, but we were just sort of getting back in contact, and it'd be like I'd get a sort of monthly support payment from him that would initially went to my mother, but then at the age of, I think it was about 15, 16, actually started coming to me directly, so I was actually able to start buying stuff myself that I wanted. But for a lot of the big ticket purchases, I still had to kind of beg me mother. And she was quite good. They would find, Games Workshop was in its golden age at that point, with games like Warhammer Quest. I mean, I remember being ill, as in it was so ill I couldn't go to school. So I had the rest of the term off because I just couldn't cope. And basically, Warhammer Quest come out that I'd been wanting for ages because I'd been following it in White Dwarf, and pretty much on release day as a pre-order, I got it, and I think there were pictures of me of that, because I literally spent all day on that first day when I did playing solo Warhammer Quest, basically devouring the rules and the content. And that sort of thing would be somewhat similar to what I would do on the PC, but at that point, if you had a computer, once I talked, because I used to go to my uncle's to use his computer and build up my fascinating, because I could never afford one. I had my home computers, but my home 8-bits. But yeah, I mean, and it was like there where I first played Arena and first played Daggerfall when they came out. And that's how I remember a lot of these PC classics, because I didn't get mine until it was through I think it was a hire purchasing, because I managed to convince my mother that we needed one, and it was in the living room. So they were trying to regulate how much time I would use on it. At that point, my mother decided that she was taking a computer course, which was amusing, because she was always busy telling herself she could never do it. And she did learn basic computing, because she got the just short of the equivalent of a plate as it was then, which was, because back then computer use was a specialist skill. But because she didn't practice it, she forgot all about it, as that generation did, because they didn't grow up with that sort of technique. And even now it's like she's surprised when she actually does something, and it's like, but you know all this because you've done it. You know, I'm basically reteaching you what you learned because you seem to have forgotten that you've actually learnt it already. Because quite often they're so convinced that they can't do tech. And it's like, well, how do you think I learned to do tech? You do it by doing, you know, nothing else. But yeah, the main issue with the household PC was you're in the living room in a public space. Well, it's essentially a public space with competing with things like the television and other group and whatnot. And so trying to limit what they could do, quite often it'd be like you'd book time for them, my mother and that, to go out so that I could use the computer. And I remember actually having some great parties with some of my best friends at the time. simply because of that. I mean, it's like, I remember one of the simplest, for example.
With you died.
Was that I had a massive, well, like I said, red alert. And I had a party, and it was me and my mate at the time. Literally spent an entire weekend where we did nothing but play. We did absolutely nothing but play Red Command & Conquer Red Alert when it first came out. You know, that and ordering pizza. Crap, okay. Well, we can deal with that. Because I got... yeah, I got a potion of heal, true. Oh yeah, we'll do that. That just does that. I should have done that before, really, but... yeah. Let's take the amulet. There's the plate helm. Dwarven longsword. I might drop the dwarven longsword. I mean, I'm resting enough that I don't need to worry about. Yeah, I'm resting enough that I don't really need to worry about having a spare weapon now. So I'm going to drop you. I know that's a major chunk of cash that I'm just abandoning in a dungeon to get lost. I'll take the silver helm. I don't think I need the longbow. The silver helm is probably just a silver helm. Yeah. I might check the longbow, but I don't think you can have magical longbows. Let's get to the point that I might just drink potions, random potions, just to use potions and use them up, really. Because there's no bad potions. In fact, I don't think there's such thing as cursed items in this game at all. So... yeah, just a normal longbow. Okay. So yeah. I mean, it'd be a couple of years later that I would actually be able to convince my mother to get an actual PC that I needed for me that could go in my bedroom. You know, largely because I was the only one who ever used it. And that was about I think that was about 98, because that's kind of when Baldur's Gate was out. And then we had basically in 2000, I actually remember it specifically, May 2000, was when I first got internet, and it was dial-up, and it was diabolical, because it was like, okay, you could use the internet, but you got disconnected every hour, and but you could reconnect, and that was a nightmare to do anything with, because you were literally dreading that. So it didn't last long on that, because it's like, okay, the internet's brilliant, I love it, but I need to use it. I need to use it more. Therefore, can we get broadband? And I was just in the process of leaving school at that time. Well, no, 98, yeah. 2000, I just kind of left school, so I started having my own money and could afford to do things. Whereas 98, I was like still in sixth form. I got a monthly stipend from the government and money from my dad, but most of it was I'd come out of hospital. After having surgery at 97, which was my GCSE year. Yeah, and well, actually no, it was like kind of around about the New Year, March, that I got the internet and then got broadband. And that was, I remember it was May, because May was when I first met Oro online. May 2000. It's now 2020, coming up to 2022, end of 2022. So yeah, 21 and a half years I've known Oro. It's when because I remember that, because that's when I joined the Zelda project. The Zelda D20 project, and with that help shift it from mere discussion to actual reality, as the third edition rules for D&D came out. So yeah. But since then, I've pretty much been a devoted PC player. It's like having a PC is like my right arm. And in fact, to be honest, to me, I use a PC like most people use their phones these days. And not just because they're smartphones. But then I come from the era just before the first smartphones and the early Blackberries and that sort of thing. But yeah, getting a PC in my bedroom, because it meant I had worried less about making noise and could spend time doing stuff and get into the routines that I kind of still do today, really. Much to the bemusement of those around me. However, I hadn't really got into let's playing and doing that sort of thing, and it would take up quite a lot of time before I would do that. and I will discover how fun this is. In fact, there was more Let's Plays started more in the 2010s, and for me that was when I actually moved out, so I actually had to pay things like rent and stuff. So I didn't necessarily have a lot of spare cash. To spend on things. In terms of working, Zelda pretty much took up a lot of my time. Yeah, and well, I got into some interesting things over the days. It wasn't all about gaming and Mark of Sanctuary, probably never going to use that. Don't know what these do. Purifications cure poison and cure disease. Got some resistances. Might drink those. Might help with the magic actually. And then I'm just drinking random potions because until I identify them, each of these potions is taking up a slot. And I don't actually know what potions do what. And because there's no identifiability as far as I'm aware. Within the dungeon, so I just drink random potion and see what's left. Oh well, never mind. See, that's that bit down there, yeah. So that's that bit there, so that's quite simple to fill in, and then we'll come in and do this bit. But yeah, that looks like that's where the stairwell would be, and it's empty, so bottom level of the dungeon. But yeah, like I said, I've done some interesting things in my time. A lot of experiences. I mean, I was part of Occupy London, for example. Although I was a late developer because I had a lot going on, I actually enjoyed that because I found that quite vocational and quite defining. That would be like the earliest inclinations of having some sort of political ambition, as it were. Because for me, it'd be little different. It was little different from work volunteering or doing charity work. Which shows you how my worldview is, I think. Helping people fight for liberty and being an advocate, really. Yeah. I mean, I had some daft things. I ran for mayor. I got published. Interestingly, I got published as a professional games designer. Both working with John 4 which was I did when I was out, and I actually helped design the main part of an expansion for Thomas Denmark's Dungeoneer card game. And I did that when I was at home with my mother. So yeah. Of course, being in my own place was fun because it meant I could have more parties. I didn't have to arrange and work around everyone else, and I spent a lot of time drinking, for good or bad. Simply because I think I was amongst the first in my group to actually have my own place. And that was largely because when I first came out as being trans, it put a strain on everyone because it was shortly after my relationship that I'd had. So I'd moved out and moved back in. And yeah, there was kind of resulted in a domestic because I lost my cool and got into a fight with my stepdad. You know, the police were called because it was a tense situation, and I was not only removed from the premises but banned from ever going back, which meant that I was homeless. Luckily for me, it was deemed that I was a vulnerable adult, and therefore I wasn't particularly held. It's not that I wasn't held accountable, it was that they knew there was more going on. A lot of it had to do because I was LGBT. They understood I couldn't stay at home. There was no way. It was too much of a powder keg. So I managed to get some help from my local council, and I got my first flat. Partly furnished because it was temporary accommodation where I spent a year and a half. So yeah. I had plenty of time self-medicating with alcohol and drugs, and basically, as the only one who pretty much had my own place, everyone would come back to mine. Well, I was having some of my massive benders. Right, let's have a rest here. I can't rest here, okay. I still had, like, The Sims. I think at that point it was The Sims 2 and The Sims 3. The Sims 2 was mostly when I was at home. The Sims 3 was... actually came out when I was in temporary accommodation. Also initially studying with the Open University. When the council decided that actually, although I was vulnerable, I was not vulnerable enough, and therefore didn't require temporary accommodation, which caused all sorts of things, because it's like, okay. I mean, that's still got repercussions now, because where there's this possibility that I might be autistic, which if you look at the pattern is not an unreasonable assumption, although there are things that might rule it out just as much as suggest that I might be autistic. to a certain degree, even if it's just slightly on the cusp, because I've learned a lot of coping mechanisms over the years. Because you kind of have to. Anyway, enough rambling. I'm going to leave it here. I can't believe it's 40 minutes. And I'll probably try and finish more rambling in the next episode, because I don't normally talk that much on these videos, especially about me. So this has been Vane doing Let's Play Elder Scrolls Arena. If you like what you're seeing here, be sure to like, subscribe, share and comment. And until next time, goodbye. Or you can wait and watch me to go through my... Oh no, I might get away with it. No, I did get away with it. I do like it when you see simple monsters though, because it's literally a case of, okay. I can generally kill them quickly, so I'm actually gaining more health than I'm losing in that regard. And I'm healed. Okay. So we will leave it there. Just want to check. Yeah, I thought we were being attacked then. Okay. So yeah, this is Vane, and I'll see you in the next episode. And until next time, goodbye.